Inspiring Heights podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kaiser, and I am so excited to be here with you today. I cannot believe that this is the first ever episode of Inspiring Heights. I am so unbelievably thankful and excited that this day is here and that we are dropping this podcast. This has been a dream of mine for a few years now, and through a lot of prayer and conversation with my husband mid to end of the year of 2021, we just really felt like the Lord was leading us into launching this podcast this year. And I am just really anticipatory of how the year is going to go. And I'm excited to get to know you. I'm excited for you to get to know me and for us to connect and be inspired together. We are going to spend this first episode talking through who I am and why I'm here and what this podcast is all about, what you can expect from me. So we'll just jump right in. I am a born and raised Montana ranch girl, and my roots run real deep. I'm really proud of where I came from. I had the pleasure of growing up with my grandparents really near. One set of them lived a half a mile from our house. And my grandma was one of my very best friends growing up and into my adulthood. And you should expect to hear some wisdom that I learned from her while she was alive as we go throughout this podcast, because she taught me a lot. But my parents and my grandparents and the community there taught me a lot about hospitality and generosity and loving your neighbor and working hard and being honest and loving Jesus. So I just enjoy reflecting on my childhood sometimes and thinking about everything that I learned and letting myself go back to some of the things that when life felt a little bit simpler. I remember I used to make mud pies with my grandma, and I used to go get rocks out of a rock pile and go take them into my dad's shop and put them on the anvil and slam them with a hammer, and rock pieces would fly everywhere. And then I would take those rock pieces, the ones that I could find, to whoever was nearby, my grandma, my grandpa, my dad, my mom, one of my siblings, and I would show them and be like so excited and so inspired by the beauty of the inside of the rock, which looked really similar to the inside of the thousands of rocks I had broken before that and the thousands of rocks I would break after that. I'm not sure my dad always loved that, finding rocks in a shop, but it was a great pastime for me. Oh boy. We spent a lot of time in the garden, which I'll be honest, I did not enjoy growing up, but do enjoy more now as an adult. Just the beauty of growing things from the ground and working with your hands and producing food and watching it grow from like nothing into the food that you're putting on your table. There's something really special about that and beautiful about that process. That I missed when I was growing up. But now, like I said, as an adult, it's fun to look back and think about those things. So after I graduated from high school, I went on to get my undergrad and master's degree in social work. And I really pursued my education to work in the geriatric field. I have a special place in my heart for the elderly population. And I swore that that was like the track that I was on. And I would never do child welfare because I didn't really like kids that much. But I would be for sure found in the geriatric field as soon as I was done with school. And you know what? The Lord had different plans for me. Shocker, but somehow that always seems to happen. Before I even graduated from from college, I started my career in social work in the child welfare arena. Launching a ministry called Safe Families for Children. And I worked in that arena for the better chunk of the first part of my career. God taught me so much about working with people, about myself, and about Him. And I'm really thankful. There was some really beautiful moments. There was some really hard and heartbreaking moments. But through it all, God used it for His glory, and it was a great way to start my career. Most recently, in this past year, I transitioned to working as a process enhancement specialist for an accounting firm. And it has been a huge transition in my career and in my kind of day-to-day life. But it's been a great adventure, and I'm really thankful for it. And yeah, it's super fun, and I'm excited to see where that all heads. I am married to my wonderful husband, Ben. We have been married for around 13 months now, and he's fantastic. He is the brains behind the Inspiring Heights podcast, as he does all the IT work and website building, and really he does all the hard work, and I get to do the fun stuff. He has informed me when we were starting this podcast that he would not be making appearances on the pod, but I bet between you and I, we could encourage him to. He is chock full of wisdom and intelligence and humor, and you would be inspired by him. So I am certain that we will get him on the pod if we convince him long enough. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we also have a dog named Rex, and I hope that he's not making any big guest appearances on the podcast anytime soon, but you can expect to see him pop up on our Instagram and Facebook page every so often. He is the center of attention in our home, and we love him super lots. So we all have things that we love, right? And when you hear someone say, like, here's the things I love, I feel like you get to know them a little bit more. So I'm going to give you a list of things that I really, really love to give you a little insight and glimpse into who I am as a human. I love Jesus and cows and Christmas and coffee. I really love coffee, like a lot. I love water bottles and essential oils and pens and planners, and I love to organize, and I love kombucha, and I love planning, and I love dreaming. I like being outside, and I love the mountains, and I really, really love to laugh. I love hanging out with my friends and connecting. I'm a sucker for like a cute coffee shop with good ambiance and good, strong coffee. I love to sit with a notebook and a pen and just write. I like to journal and talk to God through writing. Enough about me. Let's talk about the Inspiring Heights podcast. Why are we here? What are we doing? I feel like to actually answer that question, we have to come back to the how did we get here? It really began several years ago, when the dream of podcasting started to get planted in my heart little by little. And when it first started, I was real quiet about it, because it felt a little bit to me like the blogging phenomena of like 2011 to 2015, when everyone was starting a blog. I'm pretty sure I started no less than 7 blogs in those 4 years, and I could not tell you a single title of one of them. And hear me when I say, nothing wrong with blogging. It is a fantastic platform. It's just that I'm referring to the fact that everyone was doing it in that chunk of time. I thought that podcasting was going to be the same way. I thought that everyone probably wanted to start a podcast, and I was just kind of being sucked up into the cultural, like, trending thing at that time. But when I finally started to get brave and talk to my people about this dream of mine, what I realized is that actually not everyone wants to be a podcaster. I have very few people, in fact, in my circle of friends who have any desire to do this. And so then I was like, oh snap, I think this might actually be a real dream coming here. And so I really started to absorb that and go, oh yeah, I think this might be real. And so I sat with Jesus for a long time, like several years, and was like, okay, God, like, I really want this podcast to honor you, and I want it to bring you glory, and I want it to matter. And so what do I do? When do I do it? And I said at the beginning of this episode that in the end of this year, this past year, I really began to feel like the Lord was saying 2022 is the right year to start. And so hubby and I prayed a lot about this, and here we are, we're starting. And as we began to think through content, there's some things that just naturally rose to the top. So I have always been fairly planner oriented. So organization, planners, time management, those things matter a lot to me. And so if you maybe come up a little bit and get out of the trees, if you will, in the big scheme of things, that really looks like rhythms and seasons. And you're going to hear me say those words a lot. I think it is really important that we let go of what culture expects us to do and that we are familiar and aware of the season that we are living in and that we make choices with that information on the front of our brains. I also think that there is opportunity for us to live in healthy rhythm. And that can look like rhythms of all different kinds with our family, with our friends, with our church, with our home, with our work, with our play, all of it. All of those things are rhythms. And I feel like it is good to talk about them. It's good to learn from other people. So we are going to invite people on the show who have some great wisdom to share with us. And then sometimes I'm just going to share with you what I've learned over the years and some tips and tricks that I have up my sleeve that I've been fortunate enough to learn. We're also going to talk about Jesus and church and our relationship with the Lord, and that is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to talk about those things with you. And then finally, we're going to talk about some of those really fun, kind of kooky, off-the-wall things like kombucha and essential oils. And there's probably legitimately going to be an episode on hydro flasks because you might not know this about me yet, but you will come to find over time that I have this really weird obsession with water bottles. So we'll probably have a conversation about that at some point too. So we are just so excited that you are along for this journey. There are going to be some really serious episodes. There's going to be some really fun episodes and everything in between. So we're glad you're here. I just wanted to take a quick second to share with you our actual mission statement here at Inspiring Heights. And that is to walk with our friends as we learn to create healthy rhythms, flourish in our faith, and to be inspired where our feet are. Friends, I cannot wait to see where this year goes, and I hope that we can be inspired together. As we get ready to close the gate on our first ever episode, I want to take a quick second to tell you what's been inspiring me this week. So every year I choose a word of the year, and I promise you that we are going to talk about the when and the how that happens, but that is literally like a whole podcast episode, so I'm not going to get into that right now. But each year when I choose my word, I also choose a Bible verse that coincides with the word. So for 2022, the word is wisdom. And the Bible verse is found in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 17 and 18. And it says, "But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. And a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace." And as I have been reflecting on this verse this week, I have been asking God to posture my heart this way, that my intentions would be pure, that I would see people and situations and relationships through the eyes that God has for me to see them through, and that I would approach again, people and relationships and situations with peacefulness and gentleness as my posture. So, what has been inspiring you this week? No, really, take a second and pause and ask yourself that question. What's been inspiring me this week? What's motivating me? What is fueling me? What have I been thinking a lot about? It's good to ask ourselves those things. It's good to reflect on that. So don't neglect to do that, friend. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been so much fun. I want to let you know that you can subscribe to the Inspiring Heights podcast wherever you like to listen to podcasts so that you're sure that you never miss an episode. As a friendly reminder, we will be dropping podcasts every other week. So the next podcast is airing on February 21st. And I promise you are not going to want to miss it. It is going to be so much fun. You can like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Inspiring Heights. And if you have any really cool ideas, something that you want me to talk about on the podcast, or someone that you know would have some great wisdom to share with us here on the show, you can head over to our website, inspiringheights.org, click the podcast header, and find the button on the right-hand side with the mountain that says Submit Inspired Ideas. That is all for today, friends. Until next time, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.